we eat that makes us feel good and what gives us hives and asthma, solely for use in research, teaching, or analysis, and do not introduce such devices into commercial distribution. Now, if the FDA comes around and knocks on your door, why have you cured all these women with Epstein-Barr? How come this guy with hepatitis, who is turning yellow, going in for dialysis occasionally, why is he well? It's against the law to practice medicine without a license. Just tell him, I'm a researcher. Go to hell. At that point, you have taken back your power. And that's why one company is selling about 200 of these kits that are about 99% assembled a month. You just tell the FDA investigator, look, I assembled this myself. Go to hell. It's that simple. And his name and address are on the blackboard in case any of you are so lazy, so stupid, so electronically impaired that you're not going to build these things. You can buy one for about $90, ready to go. Well, that's an overview of what I'm going to talk about tonight. I'm going to show you some things that will save you tremendous... Yes, ma'am.
I have two questions. Number one, what about side effects? Number two, what about using that on people who do not have disease?
Okay. The lady has asked two excellent questions. What about side effects? What about using it on otherwise healthy people? The side effects are very real. The side effects are mostly caused by two things. You've eaten garlic. The garlic is in your blood. Garlic is a deadly poison if it gets into your blood. You know that you can drink rattlesnake venom and it won't kill you. If you get some of that into a cut, you're in deep trouble. And garlic is one of the most potent poisons known. If you're an organic gardener and you want to use garlic instead of DDT, it'll kill any insect that's likely to appear in your garden. Soldiers in World War I and World War II were taught to rub the tips of their bullets in garlic. They could only wing somebody, a flesh wound, and that person would surely die. They did not need to hit the heart, the brain with the bullet. When I bought a blowgun from Dr. Solomon in Denver a couple of years ago, he took me out in the hall, said, Bob, if you want to kill somebody silently, just get a clove of garlic. Give them a quarter for it down at the food store. Put the tip of your dart gun, blowgun, dart, into the garlic, and you have a silent killer, and it will look like he had some garlic for lunch. The pathologists, forensic pathologists, can't find it. So we had a bunch of garlic tested at a northern medical university in California. And have you heard the results of that test? Garlic, if you eat the amount of garlic in an average salad dressing, it kills more brain cells than 6 martinis. But you have so many billions that it really doesn't matter. But when you put current into the blood, electroporation, 4 times a second, we're using 4 hertz, that's not critical, 4 times a second, the current is reversing polarity, 180 degrees. Each time it reverses, the little cell membranes, potassium sodium membranes in the red cells, open up and let whatever is in the blood plasma go into those cells at 30 times the efficacy of a normal dosage. I have 1 aspirin tablet in my palm. If I eat it, I won't get sick. If I take 30 aspirin at the same time, I'm likely to get sick. The answer to your question is that we normally took people off of any herbs, any vitamins, any pharmaceuticals for 2 weeks before we started them on the hospital studies in California, in Southern California. Now we take them off of these drugs, herbs, medicines, vitamins for 2 days before we start. We haven't lost anyone yet. And what somebody who's detoxic looks like, he'll get rashes on his legs, on his face. We had one fellow who was dying from AIDS. It took 2 attendants to lift the man from his bed where he was on life support to the potty. And then they'd have to lift him back into bed. He's back at work, happy and healthy, totally symptom-free today. When he started, we nicknamed him Vesuvius. He looked like a volcano. Some soft pockets of cysts formed under his skull. These were like hemangiomas or something. They were fairly loose. Finally, they broke, and this yellow-green pus was running down his face. So he got a towel, and he wrapped it around his head to absorb this effusium. And he looked just like the volcano Vesuvius. And a lot of the guys on the study, we had, our first study went through in October of 1995. And I said, Andy, wouldn't you rather have that stuff on the towel than in your system where it's loading down your immune system, et cetera, et cetera? Oh, yes. So he went right back on the blood cleaner. But if you're detoxing too rapidly, and this is called Herxheimer's syndrome, and it's in your paper, your liver and kidneys and spleen cannot handle these neutralized viruses, pathogens, germs, bacteria, ad nauseum quite as well. They've got to get out of your body somehow. So your number one thing to watch out for is detoxification. This proves that something is changing in the body. Your feces and urine will smell badly. You'll know that you're detoxing. All sorts of symptoms come up. The second thing is the electroporation. And Mark, I think I'm going to do this. One of the most important papers that we came across in our research was published in the Journal of Cellular Biochemistry, volume 51, page 426 to 435, and this was 1993. You don't need to make notes. All of this is in your paper, boys and girls. And describes some works of James C. Weaver, W-E-A-V-E-R, who is Harvard MIT Division of Health Sciences and Technology, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Cambridge, Massachusetts, 02139, describing that when you did this type of electrification, electroporation happened, and whatever was in your blood plasma went directly into the cells. That means that things that are mildly toxic, like vitamin A, beta-carotene, niacin, many other things, will poison you. And if you wonder about this, think back to pre-1910. Most of the mothers in America would go to Sears Roebuck or the pharmacy down on the corner, and they would buy soothing syrup. They would give this to their babies. The babies would never cry. The babies would sleep. They'd be good little babies. When the Harrison Act came in, morphine sulfate was outlawed. And now we have hundreds of thousands of dope-addicted babies on the bad stuff. And it took almost a generation to wipe out that addiction to heroin, morphine, et cetera, et cetera. Coca-Cola, the real thing, had Coke in it. Drugs were sold rapidly. Women could buy arsenic, arsenate of lead, from Sears or any pharmacy. You'll see it in their 1910 catalogs. Would take this and it would make their cheeks rosy. The vasodilation. And they'd look better than if they had put on rouge and powder. You can buy garlic in any store. That's one of the worst poisons. The doctors that I've trained to get their patients off garlic, the patients, usually women, report they don't have these dull headaches every day of their lives any longer. They have attention spans at 2 o'clock and 3 in the afternoon where they normally couldn't even focus on the computer. Don't believe it when people tell you how good garlic is for you. Don't believe it when Coca-Cola had cocaine in it. Don't believe it when any drugstore was selling you morphine sulfate, the simple soothing syrup for your babies. Many of these things will be outlawed in the future, but if you do electroporation, there is a genuine danger that these could affect you. Now, our papers, I'm going to leave this with you too, Mark.
Dr. Beck, what kind of emotional stuff will happen during the detox with this?
It is almost like having PMS. Your body is under attack. It's throwing off poisons. People who do lymph cleaning can tell you about this. People who do colonics can tell you what a tremendous sense of relief they feel after a hike. These are just facts. You have to go through this. You've grown up with these boogers.